Hello, good evening everyone. Welcome to the Road to Start Summit 2021 events. Today will be very exciting day as we are approaching Tokopedia's biggest technology summit. In less than a month, we will be able to connect with fellow tech enthusiasts to learn about Tokopedia's recent breakthrough and innovations. As a background, last February 2020, Tokopedia conducted our very first technology summit. This one-day summit covered a wide range of technology innovation in core engineering, scalability, and data. Through this event, Tokopedia aimed to equip Indonesia's digital talents and prepare them to excel in the field of technology. After last year's incredible success on the event, Tokopedia will be returning Start Summit on Saturday, 3rd of July 2021, to share numerous technology innovation and improvements made through this 1 year of pandemic. This one-day virtual conference will also focus on highlighting Tokopedia's innovation in core engineering, infrastructure and productivity, as well as data. To make your Start Summit experience even more exciting, we will have a discussion and talk show with one of our Start Summit speakers about what they are to bring to discuss during the Start Summit keynote. Furthermore, we will also have a sharing session with one of our sponsors for this event, namely Relic, to discuss about their vision and aspiration for Start 2021. Lastly, we will have a quick Q&A session that where the audience asks directly to our speakers through the comment section. Without further ado, let me present to you our Start Summit speaker, Isan. Hello, Isan. How are you?
Hello, Luke. I'm fine.
Yeah, good to know. Okay, so Isan, can you brief us a little bit about what you are going to bring on the Start Summit keynote?
Okay, sure, Luke. Hello, everyone. My name is Isan. I work at Tokopedia as engineering manager in Team Web. In daily work, I together with team to deliver feature and maintain smooth user experience on the desktop and mobile web. At Start Summit, me and my colleagues in the Team Web, Dani, will present a topic entitled Designing and Developing High-Performance Dynamic Frontend Architecture. Basically, later in the session, we will share experience regarding the front-end approach that we use at Tokopedia to solve the problem of limited engineer with tight deadline, but still expect release with high quality and high performance. Yeah, it is the layout topic that we will present later on the day of the Start Summit. We will talk starting from the how we at Tokopedia implement the widget component approach for dynamic page on the front end, and then we will share the tips and tricks on how to improvise on the front end to get a good score performance for dynamic page. After that, we will talk about how we at Tokopedia prevent regression performance on production. Not only that, we will also tell you on how we can reduce development time so that we can release more pages in the less time. Later, we will also tell you about the way that we do so that our performance score increase so that it reaches number that is quite satisfactory in production. And then we will also share how we at Tokopedia do effective performance monitoring for the performance itself. Yeah. So are you curious that with detail will be like at Start Summit later? Don't forget to register at this link. Yeah, I think that's it. Look, I can share today.
Yeah, thank you, Isan. So as we see that a lot of interesting topic, yeah, especially for performance issue. I believe performance is everyone's problem. So I believe we will get a lot of insight from your session, Isan. So once again, guys, please don't forget to register yourself for the Start Summit event on 3rd of July 2021. You can register through the link academy.tokopedia.com/events/start. It's free and it will be held online. So you guys can join our session through your home, from your home. Okay, now we move to next presentation from our sponsor partner, Relic. So Relic is the most powerful cloud-based observability platform built to help companies like us, Tokopedia, to create more perfect software. We would like to present to you Steve, Senior Solution Consultant from Relic. Hello Steve, how are you?
Halo Luke, apa kabar?
Baik, baik. Thank you Steve. So Okay, Steve, I believe everyone is very exciting about presentation, so go ahead, do your session.
Cool, thank you so much. Nama saya Steve. Bahasa Indonesia saya tidak begitu baik, so saya akan gunakan bahasa English, okay? Tetapi jangan malu, okay? Kalau nak tanya soalan dalam bahasa Indonesia atau bahasa English, just put into the chat window. All right, let me just switch back to English. So I'm just saying my name is Steve and my bahasa is not that great, but today in this session, we have a lot of good stuff that we're going to share with you today. Some of you here today, you might have heard about New Relic before, but I also know some of you probably are very new. What is New Relic? Don't worry, I'm going to cover this a lot. Any good technical session, you want to know what is this session for, and today it's all about performance engineering, especially from a web point of view. But most importantly, this session, we're going to talk about what we did together in Tokopedia, and I want to give you some ideas and feedback. After that, in this session, I'm also going to talk about some upcoming trends and technology that's going on the front end. And we're going to wrap it up with some really good, some simple examples, how to just onboard New Relic. And today, we're going to make a small little announcement. We're going to make something available to you. Stay tuned to the end. Next. All right, so New Relic right here, as mentioned earlier by Luke, we have a bold mission. We want to make instrumentation and observability widely available to everyone. We want to make it a daily practice, and it's easy for you to actually instrument and look after your app in every stages of your application itself. It is end-to-end, full stack, where we can collect data from front end, such as browser, web. We also give you the ability to do simulation, proactive monitoring, like simulating user journey or API tests, including backend too, such as microservices or existing app, infrastructure, and logs right here. What we do here in New Relic is we focus on 4 key things. We focus on making frictionless instrumentation easy for people to use. Data exploration, we want to make sure we deliver beautiful UI, and we only highlight the things that you want to be mindful of. Also, we want to make sure we look for after some of the things in cloud and observability. And lastly, AIOps, leveraging more smart intelligence and helping engineers to look for things. Those 4 key technical features is designed to help you in 4 business initiatives. First, continue to help our customers to drive innovation and growth. Second, continue to refine user experience. This is the bulk of this topic right here. And number 3 and number 4, helping backend engineers to continue to drive operational efficiency and agility. With that, as mentioned earlier, there's a fun fact you might not know. The small little New Relic agent that we use to collect browser data is actually one of the most widely adopted agents. In fact, apart from Google Analytics, because of funnels and SEO, we are actually the most widely adopted. And this is not coming from me. This is coming from a particular website called BuildWith. So especially for front-end engineers, you've probably heard about BuildWith before. This is something that you use to profile what technology is used. And this is you can see with that link right here. Let's click next. So before we get into it, like this session, it's just like a Hollywood movie. You know, what Isan is actually present on the Start Tokopedia event, that's the main highlight. But this session right here is the origin story. We're going to talk about some of the things that what we did underneath the hood and how do you get that data in order to see what you see in that event. So how do we get all this awesome web metrics? It's just all the small little script that we use. You can say this is our secret sauce because it's framework and language agnostic. We don't care either it's React, Angular, Vue, we still can collect data. And what we do is we leverage some of the telemetry that's built natively from the browser API, such as the browser timing API. We have small code that actually wrap around AJAX core and HTTP. Also, we look at DOM navigation and any on-click and any event listener that we see on the web. And from there, we actually present those data in the UI. So let's move to the next one. So one thing that you want to see right here is how do I go deep? Because if you're familiar with instrumentation or monitoring as a whole, the code can only probably monitor or look after metrics that's probably 80 to 90%. I say this is because when I used to be a performance engineer, sometimes you want to create your own performance hypothesis. Especially for us here in New Relic, our target audience always been software developers, and we know you sometimes want to create some custom measurement. So with our agent, we have custom API that gives you the ability to create your own custom measurement. And I know here in Tokopedia, the engineers definitely do that. For example, I want to do measurement based on hero image. I want to do special measurement, maybe based on specific components or special user journey that goes through a specific web. We give you the ability to do that and can do this quite nicely in the UI. Next. Now, this is probably the highlight of this session right here. What you see, and this is probably the best entry point to share some of the collaboration work that we did together in Tokopedia right here. So what you see here is the signature Map of Indonesia. This is something that's built by the web team in Tokopedia. I'm very proud for them because what you see right here, it's a place for them to collect all different telemetry in one single spot. As an engineer here in Tokopedia, you can decide maybe you want to filter and look at front-end metrics, maybe back-end metrics, maybe something on the network layer, such as right now what's going on in Southeast Asia. Network became so unpredictable, right? And this map right here, it's so unique. It's so interesting that probably the most interesting metric is actually not performance metrics. It's actually precursor. One thing I admire with what the engineers here in Tokopedia, what they did is actually capture performance metric, what precursor that they have, which is government initiative, what they do on a website, and actually track in this map. This map is so good that it won an award here in New Relic called the New Data Net Award. Within a short amount of time, they became a New Relic customer, became a customer of New Relic. They built this in an impressive amount of time. Now, if you have an opportunity to work with Tokopedia engineers or you yourself, I know one thing I'll tell you, Tokopedia engineers are obsessed with performance. They collect everything, but also they got really creative right here. What you see in this map, it's like an interactive business intelligence map, geolocation. When you click on a specific city and state, it automatically dynamic and update and shows an engineer what's going on in that metric right there. This is truly, really impressive. Next. So what you can see right here again, kita lihat di sini, Tokopedia main, yang saya boleh lihat bot and user access. So going back again, bisa Mas Isan jelaskan lebih lanjut what we're seeing right here.
Okay, jelas. Okay, thanks, Steve. In this slide, there is the one metrics that we monitor is the number of RPS and which URL are accessed the most, both for access from the user or bot, such as like Google bot, Bing bot, and etc. In every service we have, because in the web team we have many front-end service that we monitor every day, so that we know that each service is running well or not in production. By having this dashboard in New Relic, we will know which service have spike or drop RPS. So from there we can make appropriate and fast follow-up decision for that incident. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. So,
Steve.
cool. So sekarang performance di Tokopedia rock solid, mantap, huh? No problem.
Yes.
That's always the case, right? Cool. Let's just continue on. Let's have a look at some of the examples that we have right here. So sekarang kita lihat di sini lagi Tokopedia Web Vitals. So this is in regards to user experience. This is important. So again, bisa Mas Isan jelaskan lebih lanjut what we're seeing right here.
Okay, bisa, Steve.
Wow.
Yeah, this matrix is showing the score of the core web vital on the one of the page on Tokopedia. It consists of the LCP, largest contentful pane, which shows how quickly the content that is most meaningful to the user appear in the browser. And then there is the FID, first input delay, to show how fast the user can interact with the page. And finally, there is the CLS, cumulative layout in shift. It is to show how stable our UI looks for the user. Each matrix has its own threshold that been defined by Google itself. On the chart, we can see the green line shown how many percent of user get the good number. Purple is the value for that indicate need improvement. And then the last orange is for bad score. Yeah. We can see on the chart, yeah, almost on the green, right?
Almost everything's green. I mean,
yes.
your user experience is perfect.
I hope, yeah, that we monitoring it, Steve.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's look at another example right here. Okay, kita lihat dekat sini again. This one is seller. So I'm a seller in Tokopedia. So maybe just explain to all of us, what are we seeing right here?
Yes, in seller, we use that command widget. So on the dashboard this time, we use New Relic to monitor the command widget that we have on the seller page. With this dashboard, we can find out which widget trend appear and then we can find out which component just suddenly disappear. So we can immediately act more fast. Is there a problem on the front end or back end for the page seller itself? And for how we implement this widget base, we will share it at the Start Summit later for the detail.
I see. So this one, you're observing sellers and buyers, not observe semua, yeah? So everything
Yes.
must observe.
Yep, correct.
Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next one. So this is the part that I really also want to take this opportunity to really talk about some of the upcoming trends like technology, what's going on in front-end web development. So I can tell you one thing, based on my working experience within the region, especially in Southeast Asia, network has become a huge problem. Because for us in Southeast Asia, network, whether we like it or not, as an end user, it's always your fault, even though network sometimes is your fault. So one thing we've seen, a lot of SRE engineers that traditionally always focus on the back end and is now putting their effort to focus on the front end. Which now I'm also seeing a lot of front end engineers work together with SRE engineers to actually look at upstream. There's another two more trends that I've noticed right here. Now, especially for front end developers, if you're familiar with this, with what's going on in the industry, I'm not going to talk about programming language, TypeScript or Next.js. Again, I might go in an hour. But I do want to talk about there's two unique trends, especially from a web development point of view. One is micro frontends. So what you're doing with micro frontends is you're bridging and you're using backend microservices terminology and you put it on the front end side. So when you click, let's say, a specific web component, that web component go through just like, instead of going through an API, actually you manage the whole deployment and microservices around it right there. So what you're doing is you're decomposing components into smaller, and as a front-end engineer, you look after the whole stack. It is very challenging. It is very interesting, but at the same time, I also find front-end engineers might not like the idea because front-end engineers want to make sure the pixel is perfect. You deliver a component, make sure data is doing right, and now taking on back-end job might be a bit challenge right here. The third one that I probably think this is more realistic is actually Jamstack. Jamstack stands for JavaScript, API, and Markup. In fact, probably the most popular one that you might have heard is called Netlify. So Netlify is you literally write code, GitHub, commit, of that, just deploy. Netlify will just pretty much handle the rest. This is more realistic, it's more easy to implement, and I personally feel that it's more adoptable for front-end engineers. So going back again, so Luke and Isan, what do you think about micro front-ends and Jamstack?
Yes, for micro frontend is, in my opinion, is quite good, Steve, and it is become the one of the more hot topic discussion on the Tokopedia web team. We are still researching stage about it, and because we at Tokopedia implementing the technology not only because of the trend, but also seeing the suitability of the case we have with the technology that we will be implemented. Yeah, but to be honest, yeah, it is quite good see for the micro frontend, Steve, and also for the Jamstack itself.
Cool, no problem. All right, let's continue on right here to the next one. So one thing that I want to take this opportunity to really explain, especially for front-end engineers and performance engineering, is what you see here on the left-hand side is the concept of distributed tracing. Distributed tracing is a technology that a lot of backend engineers use to actually trace requests that propagate throughout the whole microservices. But one thing maybe you're not aware, which you can also leverage distributed tracing for front-end browser. This is done out of the box right here, and what you see on the left-hand side, we also released this relatively new feature called TraceMap. So TraceMap is a way of you visualizing your traces, as you can see on the screen, and you can see swim lanes of those requests propagating throughout your service right here. So here's an example of a coupon where it's not able to get it or invalid, but you can see it's hitting multiple errors at the same time. It's not just one. This is a normal characteristic of a microservices distributed architecture right here. But as mentioned earlier, one of the focus that what we do here in New Relic is curated UI, data exploration. So within the UI itself, we know when you click on a specific object, we know this is backend or front end. So here's an example. When we click on a specific web browser, especially for front end engineers, we know the metrics, what you need to look for. So here's an example where we display things like large content pain, first input delay, but also we are context aware. We know the object that's surrounding that. And you can see with a single click, you can see a lot of details right here. Let's click next. So as mentioned earlier, this is a real example of a trace in Tokopedia. I don't want to spoil the thunder. There's a lot of good stuff what Isan is going to cover in Start Tokopedia, but one of the things he's going to talk about is the web performance engineering, and they rely on GraphQL on the back end. One of the challenges in GraphQL is actually seeing trace propagation, and here's an example where we have New Relic, and one of the components we can see trace propagation hitting on a specific surface and actually now going through the GraphQL layer. So again, more during Isan's session and Start Tokopedia. Let's go to the next one. Now, let's just change a bit topic right here. Let's change the topic for a moment. So you see me talk a lot about front-end performance engineering, but I want to take a moment and say and ask this question: what if we could use machine learning and pattern recognition and apply on the front end? I say this because a lot of solutions usually focus on the back end, but what if we can do it on the front end? And let's explore the next slide. Let's just move forward here. Now, what you see here, it's a new feature that we released not long ago. It's called Lookout. Lookout gives an engineer the ability to observe your state. It could be hundreds of thousands of services in one single glance. If you're familiar with data science or how AI works in general, you need a lot of time to actually go through models and learning pattern recognition. But what we're able to do is we're able to produce data in less than 5 minutes. So what we do right here is we leverage statistical analysis. We look for different times and we do cohort analysis based on what we can see around it. The goal here is not so much to quickly tell you what's the problem. Yes, we can do that if we want to, but here is sometimes we want to show you change signals or deviation that occur right here. The circle, the size of that circle represents the amount of data point that we collect, but it's the colors that you want to pay attention right here. Right here, we can see this again. Here's an example here in Tokopedia. We're seeing first input delay, which is the front end metrics. We can see a high amount of change, which you can see in this UI. We are seeing outliers right here. Again, what we try to do here is want to give engineers the ability to see what's around a corner so that you know what you need to pay attention, just in case you haven't created an alert around it. Let's move on to the next real example, which I saw in GoTo event. So a few weeks ago, Tokopedia and Gojek has a joint launch event, and we saw a lot of traffic hitting on the website. Now, engineers, I'll be very frank with you, you're very good at creating alerts. Heck, we do that, right? But what about things that we haven't really anticipated or we don't know? We don't know, or the unknown unknowns. So what I saw is one of the directorate called Digital Directorate. And during the GoTo event, we saw errors starting to building up. You might have an alert that's been triggered, but it's the correlation that I'm interested right here. So we can see the correlated impact of that error, and we can see the correlation between different services right there. This is done on the fly without really need to waiting for days and weeks. And hence, as you can see right here, this is actually done during that event, and I captured that as an example right here. Let's move to the next one. Now, this is pretty much, we're getting to the end of the session right here. I just want to take this time to really explain a bit more. If you like what you see and you really like the ideas and suggestion and discussion I mentioned earlier, hey, how do you get started? Getting started here in New Relic, as mentioned, we want to focus on making things really easy. So what you want to do is just put a small little script in the head tag, okay? Head tag. Just make sure that we are the first script to load, because we want to make sure we want to profile every single thing that we see on the page. If not, we might miss certain things. Again, this is an example for my code editor right here. But once this is done correctly, you can see some out-of-the-box metrics, such as core web vitals. We can see the difference between front-end and back-end, but also distributed tracing, as I've shown you earlier with a lot of examples. Let's move to the next. Now, as mentioned earlier, one thing that we want to do here in New Relic is not only we want to deliver superior, good products. We want to make sure people enjoy our products, but we also want to make sure observability is easily adoptable regardless which stage that you're on. If you're really new to this, you just want to try out New Relic, I'm happy to say we have free forever. Yep, we have that right here with 100 gigs of data per month, and we give you one free full user. You have access throughout the whole platform. You can try it out right there. If you are in a startup, especially in Indonesia, where the startup community is vibrant, if you're part of the AWS Activate program, New Relic is part of that program. We give you access to that too. But there's also another target audience that a lot of people don't know. This is my second time doing the START event, and I also know this is a huge amount of students or aspiring people, maybe they want to get into IT. I'm happy to say and happy to announce we have the new Relic Student Edition, okay? This is for you, especially for aspiring students. Let's go to the next one. I'll explain a bit more right here. Now, in this slide, the most important one you want to focus on is that URL. That URL. Just remember to go to newrelic.com/Tokopedia. This is a special URL that we built that for this event. We have the new Relic Student Edition. Why are we releasing this? The reason is pretty simple. When I was involved in the START event very first time ago, I'm really inspired with the social responsibility what Tokopedia is trying to do in cultivating more digital talent. And also, President Jokowi, that you can see right here, has an ambitious goal to cultivate more than 9 million digital talents by 2035. So when we actually learn about this, when we partner together with Tokopedia, we want to also do our part. That's why we announced, and we have now made this available, the new Relic Student Edition. What it is actually, and you need to find out if you can have this. If you're part of a coding bootcamp, or maybe the education institution like a campus or a university, or maybe some form of corporate learning program, if you have GitHub Student Edition, you are entitled to the new Relic Student Edition. It's a very generous offering that we provide to you. We give you more users and more data. I wish I had this when I learned to code. Really, I'm being honest here. I wish I had this because when I built my project, I could look after my app and I can showcase as part of my portfolio. And now you have that as part of this with the new Relic Student Edition. Let's move on to the next one. Just a closing and recap. Again, we covered a lot of points. You can always rewatch this, and also you watch this on the live stream. We provide an end-to-end observability across the whole stack. As mentioned earlier, this session is all about Tokopedia, and I really hope that this session gives you some ideas what we did with them and give you some thoughts what you can do together with our platform. As I mentioned earlier, our agent is actually really easy to onboard, and you can start instrumenting either front end and back end. You can decide what you want to do with that. As mentioned earlier, lastly, just to wrap up my point, this is the origin. And the next session, and I hand back to you, Luke. Maybe you can talk about what's coming up in Start Tokopedia.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for your time. Okay, so there's a lot of interesting things, especially the upcoming trends about the Jamstack and micro front ends. And also, thank you very much for New Relic for providing us with the student edition New Relic. So for every student that watching this live event or maybe the reply later on, you can start to try New Relic for free by visiting the web on newrelic.com/Tokopedia. Okay, so now let's move on to the Q&A session where the audience can ask their questions directly. So if you guys want to ask in Bahasa or in English, feel free to drop your question on the comment section. Okay, let me check some of the question on the comment box. Let's start with this one. This is a pretty good question. What is the most challenging performance issue that Tokopedia ever encountered so far, and how to solve the problem? Maybe from Isan?
Okay, look, this can English or Indonesia?
I believe bahasa is fine.
Oke, ya, untuk apa tantangan terbesarnya saat perform issue, kita perlu ini sih, tantangan terbesarnya lebih ke arah mencari bagian mana yang memang paling penting kita munculkan ke user. Kayak tadi di awal, di slide sebelumnya, di slide-nya Steve, ada LCP, itu part of yang paling besar, yang perlu kita cari tahu, karena setiap halaman memiliki elemen UI yang berbeda-beda kan. Nah, di situ kita perlu cari tahu tuh, itu elemen mana yang paling besar, terus kemudian dari sana baru kita bisa gerak, ini cara biar kita bisa mempercepat muncul ke user tuh seperti apa. Karena ketika kita ngomongin UI, tidak hanya berbicara bagaimana teman-teman front-end bekerja, tapi juga itu end-to-end dari teman-teman produk sampai ke back-end-nya, sampai ke gambarnya sendiri pun itu sangat berpengaruh. Jadi tantangannya lebih ke arah gimana kita bisa berkolaborasi dengan teman-teman back-end, kemudian tim media, serta juga back-end biar produk biar bisa memunculkan elemen yang paling penting ke user itu secepat mungkin, biar user tuh kebuka langsung muncul tuh halaman yang paling penting ya, yang memang mereka cari gitu.
Oke.
Semoga menjawab.
Jadi yang utama itu LCP ya.
Kalau lebih yang lain juga penting, cuman LCP jadi part of yang paling paling menantang. LCP pun FID dan CLS juga penting, tapi kurang lebih banyak stakeholder-nya banyak di LCP sebenarnya.
Oke, thank you Isan. Oke, the next question, bagaimana cara saya bisa capture data seperti Core Web Vitals ini? Apakah sudah langsung tersedia di New Relic atau harus saya baca dari browser secara manual kemudian dikirim ke New Relic? Setup bisa berapa lama ya? So the viewers asking that how do they can track the Core Web Vitals in New Relic, Steve? Do they need to do some special things or is it out of the box?
Yes, great question. So the Core Web Vitals is done out of the box. So just a quick recap, it's really easy to use. Just remember to put the JavaScript into the head tags. After that, you're ready to go. So I guess go back to Isan. How long does it take for you to onboard that agent? And how quick did you see data?
Yes, for implement, like Steve said in the previously, is quite fast. Just put that the agent JavaScript on our page, and then for Core Web Vital, this will be default things we will get on the New Relic dashboard. Yeah, it's quite fast and very easy sih for us to implement it.
Cool, thank you for that.
Thank you Steve, thank you Isan. Jadi teman-teman itu out of the box ya. Kalian cuma perlu nambahin tag di script tag di head tag-nya aja yang tadi di presentation-nya Steve. Okay, next question maybe. Is there any new challenges coming from this pandemic situations? Maybe from Isan. Kira-kira ada nggak sih masalah-masalah baru atau challenge-challenge baru yang baru kita hadapi ketika masa pandemi ini misalnya?
Yes, masa pandemik ya, ini cukup umum sih ya. Karena saat pandemik ya kita semua virtually lah, ya kayak kita sekarang nih virtualnya conference virtual, jadi saat kerja pun kita virtual dengan semua tim member. Jadi lebih gimana kita bisa percaya dengan teman member kita sih, tim kerja kita, apakah kita percayakan pembagian tugasnya, terus kemudian kita bisa get terbalik untuk bisa ngecek nih tasnya udah kelar atau belum. Tapi lebih tantangannya lebih kita perlu menaruh trust banyak ke tim dan kolaborasi dengan teman-teman yang lain. Gitu. Itu sih yang kurasakan ya saat on this pandemic, long pandemic, more than one year.
Oke, berarti kalau dari Isan lebih ke communication ya. Oke, from Steve maybe, do you have any new challenges from this pandemic, Steve?
Oh yes, our web traffic went up 30 to 50%. Well, because a lot of people stuck at home, right? And you still need to keep your systems up. So our web traffic went up a lot. But also what we've learned in the pandemic, it really challenged our fundamental design. So what we try to do here on our infrastructure, not just infrastructure, but also even front end, we try to decouple as much as we can. And we almost have to think about redundancy, the way how we route traffic. So yes, not only because when our customers are having issues, they rely on us to make sure our UI is fine. And because of that, our traffic went through the roof.
Agree. I believe Tokopedia also have a spike on traffic, especially on the end of the month, because we have Waktu Indonesia Belanja event.
Okay. That's correct. And every end of the month, we see traffic spike from Tokopedia very high too.
Yeah. Because we have the Waktu Belanja event, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. How to measure the correct metrics? Maybe this one from Steve first. So how do we measure the correct metrics?
Okay, let me answer that question. So measuring correct metrics is something I'm very passionate with. If you're asking, so most engineers are very good with technical metrics. Response time, error, throughput, they're okay, they're not bad. But it's just that for us engineers, we need to learn to think like product managers or head of engineering. So I like to say this: start with your user journey. Start from a user point of view. When they go to your site, what's most important to them? So for example, if I look at our customers, when they come to our UI, the first thing they want to make sure is, let's say, the specific app name or the services they're interested, it's loaded correctly. So start from a user point of view, then slowly make your way. Because as an engineer, if you can work closely with your product managers can give you a good clue what you should be measuring.
Okay, maybe from Isan?
Untuk correct metrics, I think butuh ini sih. Kita pertama kayak kita Tokopedia, kita di awal banyak banget kita pasang nih metricsnya, terus kemudian perlu kita audit juga mana yang memang perlu banget kita pantau dan mana yang tidak perlu kita pantau. Nah, kadang nggak semua itu bisa berimpact ke business unit ataupun ke berjalan bisnis. Dan setuju dengan apa yang Steve bilang, kita perlu juga nih kolaborasi dengan teman-teman produk, mana bagian yang penting untuk produk yang perlu kita measure, kayak apakah tahapan berapa banyak sih yang mendaftar user baru di Tokopedia misalnya, atau berapa banyak sih seller yang mendaftar di platform Tokopedia dan seterusnya. Nah, itu kan perspektif dari tech-nya bisa, tapi itu juga perlu dapat perspektif dari teman-teman dalam produk. Jadi kita nggak bisa sendiri nih dari tech perspektif, tapi kita juga perlu both sides sih, antara produk dan tech perspektif gitu.
Oke, thank you Isan, thank you Steve. Jadi kesimpulannya kita harus combine ya, matrix dari business unit sama produk, dan dari sisi tech juga matrixnya harus di-combine buat menentukan matrix mana yang benar buat di measure. Oke, next question. Saya lihat setup New Relic mudah, namun saya mengalami kesulitan. Di mana ya biar bisa dapat support? This one maybe for Steve. So Steve, he's saying that the setup for New Relic is pretty easy, but just in case, maybe if he facing some problems, where can he get any support from you guys?
Yep, sure, no problem. So we do have a community support. It's just like a forum. Probably many developers, you heard about Stack Overflow, right? You have a coding problem, you go to Stack Overflow, and maybe you just put something. We have a community forum right here. If you're just trying out, you just want to get help, a lot of answers that's available is actually available in Google and also our community forum. I recommend that just give it a go. Just try it out, put your question in our community forum. But also it is our community forum that includes a lot of best practice stuff. So there's quite a lot of support is available to you. So if you are paid customers, yes, there's a dedicated channel. But again, if you just want to try it out, start with a community forum. We do have active people that are looking at that.
Oke, thank you Steve. Jadi kalau saya summarize, jadi sebenarnya di forum-forum ada banyak forum yang membahas best practice dalam penggunaan New Relic, atau misalnya kalau ada isu atau masalah itu bisa ditanyakan juga di forum-forum atau di Google. Oke, maybe one last question ya. One last question, maybe for Steve. How do you onboard product managers to actively using New Relic?
That's a very good question. The best way to get product managers to look at this, just show them a problem. Simple as that. There's no better way of getting a product manager when you show JavaScript error. It's pretty straightforward. Like script is not loading, or like, Isan, you talk a lot about LCP, a lot of metrics, because especially Google Core Web Vitals. The best way to get product managers, if you show them Google Core Web Vitals, it's not loading well, your SEO is going to look bad. So that's the easiest way. Show them problem, you're going to get them to use you. Got to look at the UI.
Agree.
Yes, correct.
Isan?
100. Yeah, is that the way we always educate with the PM to if there is the problem, and then there is a product, we have the problem on this dedicated pages, there is the why that is happen, and then after that, not only me or our NWP developer, but sometimes the PM just give us the dashboard. Hey Isan, there is the anomaly in the Relic dashboard. You can check this. Yeah, something we need to iterate lah every time to dedicate to our product team also.
Okay, thank you, Isan. Thank you, Steve. Okay, I think that was our last question for today's Road to Start Submit session. Once again, thank you, Steve and Isan, for your time this evening. Also, guys, please, I would like to remind you guys again, don't forget to register yourself to our Start Summit event on Saturday, 3rd of July 2021, using the links academy.tokopedia.com/events/start. The event is free and it will be held online, so you guys can join from your home. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. I'm Luke, and we are looking forward to seeing you again in the next session. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Luke. Thanks, Steve.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.